Yay! Hello, welcome everyone. My name's Eva and I'm with Awesome Careers, resources and tools and tips to help you build your career. And thank you all so much for joining me today on a Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, or catching me back here on the replay. And that's totally cool as well. So welcome so much for your time and energy. And we're going to jump right in. Today I'm going to talk about some really cool topics, specifically all about LinkedIn, right? And so I think that some folks out there either already built a LinkedIn profile and they just haven't updated it yet, or maybe you never heard of LinkedIn and you're like, what is this thing? Do I need to be on it? Right? I'm going to jump a little bit more about that, and I'm happy to share about some tools and tips that you can do to help elevate your profile so that way you stand out among your networks. So we're going to jump right in. All right. And the reason why you should be on LinkedIn, or again, you should be considering that, is because again, 87% of recruiters, right, if you're looking for a job, are on LinkedIn heavily, just looking for candidates. Whether you are even looking for a job, right, or you're even not, a lot of recruiters are on LinkedIn and they're looking for people with skill set and experience. So whether you're on the job search, you should be on LinkedIn. And even if you're not, you should be on LinkedIn so that way you can advertise to your current networks and future bosses and coworkers about the skill set experience you have in your professional life. 94% of recruiters are using LinkedIn to vet job candidates. So again, it's so important that you really have a strong LinkedIn profile. It helps people, again, in your network understand what is it that you do, what have you done, right? What are you currently working on, and what are you aiming towards in the future? LinkedIn's going to be the professional you. LinkedIn is not, the personal you. And what I mean by this, again, it's not Snapchat, it's not Facebook, it's not, Instagram, right? It's not supposed to be focused on your personal story of your personal life. It's really focused on the professional you. So again, what is LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is the world's largest professional network on the internet. And LinkedIn can help you find jobs, professional opportunities, internships, connect with professionals, right? Learn new skills and build relationships. So again, I highly recommend folks get on LinkedIn. So this whole thing about a LinkedIn profile can be very intimidating, but it's just like how you would build any other profiles out there, right? You put your content, put your information about you. And what I like to think of it as, when you are creating your LinkedIn profile, you are essentially telling your story. You're telling the world out there, right, about who you are professionally. So the more your profile is completed, the more likely people are wanting to connect with you, right? Because they can kind of get a better idea of who you are. If you have a blank profile that has minimal skills and experience, and what I mean by that is, again, you're not really completing the profile, it's pretty empty, right? People are less likely to connect with you because they don't know you. They're not interested in that, right? More people are more likely to connect with other people who have completed profiles. And I'm going to talk about more in depth about what's a completed profile. So approach this as if, again, it's part of telling your story, right? You're telling to your future bosses, you're telling, again, to your industry, your colleagues, experts in the field about who are you, right? And again, you want to make sure your profile is completed. So again, one of the first things before we actually go into updating our profile, I highly recommend folks is going to your settings and actually turn off the shared job changes or education changes and work anniversary from your profile. And it's under the category of visibility of your LinkedIn activity. And you want to sort of turn this off because every time you make a small change, whether it be your education piece, your skills, or maybe you got a new job, or anything you make changes into your profile gets sort of like PSA, public service announcement, to all the people that you're connected to. So if you know that you're going to be working, let's just say within an hour, you're going to be working on your profile a lot, you probably want to turn this off first. So that way everybody does not get notified of every single thing you make changes to your profile. It just makes it easier. So it doesn't make it so obvious that, hey, you're updating your profile, right? I would do it again. I would turn this off first. The next part you should be doing, one of the first changes you should do if you have not already done so, is actually go into your profile and customize your URL. Everyone can do this. It's pretty easy, but you can go into the settings and actually right there at the top, it says edit your public profile URL. Otherwise, what happens is that LinkedIn automatically generates a URL for your profile, and it has like a bunch of random numbers and letters, and ain't nobody gonna have time to type that in. So I highly recommend go and customize it. Keep it, simple, first, last name. If you have a very common first, last name, then again, I recommend just kind of tweaking a little bit so that way it's quick and easy to type and people can quickly look you up and find you. Now we go into the actual pieces of your profile. And this is a quick breakdown. There's a whole bunch more, but I would say this is the most essential pieces, right? You have your photo. We're going to talk about the tagline or your headliner, the about section. We're going to really jump a little bit much more into the about section, the activities, experience, and there's also a feature. I forgot about that too. A license and certifications, volunteer experience, as well as skills and recommendations, right? These are components of the profile that really makes it more complete. Otherwise, again, people are not going to know you. They're not going to understand what you stand for. What do you do, right? What are those accomplishments? And so you want to make sure you get a chance to really try to add to every little component that you can. So when it comes to photo, I don't recommend you do these type of photos. And let me make it a little bigger so that way you see, right? Again, I don't recommend the selfie, right? And if you are going to use a photo of your face, I really don't recommend the one where your face is all up in the screen, right? That's too close for comfort, I tell folks. And of course, no hand gestures like this where, again, you're trying to make silly faces, right? Think of it, your future bosses and colleagues, they want to see the professional you. Right. And you want to really be able to, again, convey to them that you are the professional you. So don't use those type of gestures or photos. Instead, what I recommend is go with something like this, right? And the reason why is because, again, you want to convey in the spiritual point of I am your future coworker, right? You're trying to convey this message, and a nice LinkedIn profile photo, it should be simple, right? I would have probably recommend color. What I mean by that is, again, when folks have like contrasting colors in their backgrounds or against their skin tone, right? More people are more likely to click on you. So again, you want to make sure that they can see you. A nice smile goes a long way because it tells people that, again, you're friendly. You could be their future coworkers, right? So again, really quick, profiles have 21 more times profile views if you have a photo, and up to 36 more times to get messages from recruiters or colleagues, from people out there. So you want to really increase, again, those opportunities by making sure your profile picture really has something that says, hi, welcome, this is me, right? And I really recommend that because, again, when you look at the LinkedIn profile, that's like one of the first things that you see is literally a profile picture of who you are. And so, again, you want to really, I tell folks, you don't have to do studio style. You can literally just go outside on a nice sunny day, go under a shade and get a photo on on your phone, and that'd be fine too. Okay. The next piece, your tagline, okay, the headliner. This is literally this, 120 characters that goes right under your name, right? And what I recommend folks do is actually utilize action verb and adjective to describe a little bit more about, who are you, right? What's your service? What are you trying to do? What do you want people to know about you, right? What's the target population perhaps you're trying to serve, right? And of course, what are you known for? What's your specialty? This will help your audience understand really quick, before they even click on your profile, right, to consider what's more information about this person that I would like to know or I need to know. And I think of it as the scenario in this way. If your colleagues or your boss, right, had to announce you on stage, what would you want them to say about you professionally? What do you want them to call you by? What do you want them to understand about you? What's your special? What do people go to you for, right? And so I highly recommend start brainstorming a few of those adjectives, action verbs, and specialty areas that you are known for. Here's another piece too. So again, for student versions, right, this is for folks who are probably, again, if you're new to more LinkedIn you're still growing as a professional, right? You probably want to include like field of study, right? When you'll be available, like as in when you'll be done graduating, what are you seeking, right? You can also include those. And of course, those key skills that they do have. So it could be as simple as I'm a psychology student, right, seeking summer 2021 internship for public policy. I have skill set in writing, editing, and research. Keep it simple. So again, for folks who are seeking opportunities, you could put that in your tagline, your headliner, and that helps flags people and let them know, like, hey, this is what I'm really looking into. For folks who are much more experienced, again, if you're a professional, you're in the field much longer, then you might be keeping it simple. Like, again, experienced educator seeking new opportunities, or again, what's the relevant keywords from your industry, right? Search terms, because LinkedIn is heavy algorithm-wise on key terms and words. And so you want to make sure that you utilize that, implement that in your headline. So it could be simple like this if you wanted to. Another cool tool that I think might be helpful, especially if you're still struggling with, again, a headliner and you want to test out the water to see if is it even good, right? Are people even like looking me up? I recommend jobscan.co/LinkedIn optimization. It's a free tool. There is some premium services too, but you don't have to do that. If you do the free one, what you do is you link it to your LinkedIn profile, and it scans your headliner and it reviews it and tells you what you should put in it, or again, if it's has like really good terms in it, or it's overused terms. And so I highly recommend you utilize this as a tool. I just did it last night. It's really easy, and it gives you some feedback about what's a good headliner. It also gives you recommendation. So that might be really cool. Okay, now we go into the about section, right? This is like the summary. This is actually pretty important because think of it as like your introduction, right? This is the first time you're going to actually speak to the audience, to the people who are coming to your page, and helping them learn about who are you, right? It's not, I think people get kind of confused of like, do I copy and paste the same stuff from my my resume onto my LinkedIn profile? And it's not supposed to be a copy and paste thing. It's really supposed to elevate what your resume did not get to cover, right? Remember, resume are often limited to either 1 or 2 pages. It's really pertaining to, again, skill set and experience to the specific job. Whereas LinkedIn is more focused on your experiences since the beginning of your professional, right? Of you as a professional. And it tells the reader, your audience, right? Whether it be the people you're already connected to, your future bosses, coworkers, again, mentors, about who are you? What have you been building? What are you developing? What are you aspiring towards? And so in the about section is where you actually get to say and use the pronouns like I. You can say, I'm really focused on this. I'm about this, right? It's very different from, again, the resume. Resumes, you wouldn't use particles and pronouns. You wouldn't say I. So I tell folks is if I see a LinkedIn profile on a resume, right? I see that link. That's an invitation for me to go onto their profile and learn more about them that I would not have learned in the resume. It gives the reader, again, recruiters, a holistic approach, again, a little bit more about who are you? What do they not know about? Maybe you did something in your community and they have no idea, that you care about your community. And so the about section is a really cool way to invite them to learn more about you. And so there's different ways to how to write them really quick. There's like these top 5 ones from the Muse, which I love. There's the mission base where it kind of tells you, it summarizes like, hi, my mission is to do this or focus on this, right? There's the personality more. It tells the reader a little bit more about, again, how do you work? Who are you? What's your sort of approach to things? Or you can kind of keep it short and sweet and simple, or the blended version, right? Or the accomplishment version. So though I'm not going to go into every single one of them because it just takes much. We have so much part of the profile that we have to go through, but those are the 5 more common ones. But my favorite one, especially if you're just starting out or you are updating and you're like, okay, I don't have time. I only got 20 minutes, Eva. How am I going to quickly put together my profile? And I tell folks, do this method. It's the one I utilize. It's the easiest because, again, I'm not trying to like display a whole, again, like long laundry list. I'm just keeping it simple. Present, past, and future. And it's the same method that I would do and tell folks when you go interview in that tell me about you section, where they literally ask you, tell us about yourself, right, in the interview. So this is a quick introduction. Think of it almost as like an elevator pitch, right? So present, what are you quickly in like 2 to 3 sentences? What are you doing right now? Where are you professionally right now? You know, you might start off with a welcome and you could quickly discuss what your current role is, some of the things that you manage or you're responsible for that gets you excited, right? Whatever that is. 2 to 3 sentences. And again, you can use formal sentences. You can really capture that and include, again, information about your skills, your accomplishments. Then I would jump to the past. I would go quickly in the past, you know, I've been involved in this, and this, whatever that is, right? Where I developed my skills or where I, you know, demonstrated this, whatever that is. So again, I would jump to the past to quickly highlight relevant skills and experience because I want information to be relevant to them, to understand like what do I care about, right? What have I been doing, whatever that case may be. And then I'll jump to the future and let them know, like in the future, I'm looking forward to either building connections, learning more about whatever field, or trying to develop new skills, right? I would tell my, again, audience, the people who I'm connected to already about what is it that I'm looking forward to in the future. And so again, present, past, and future, that's the easiest method. And then lastly, I tell folks, your last sentence, there should be this giant call to action that you want this reader to do. Is it, hey, check out my website. I've been writing some, you know, cool articles. I'm a blogger. Or is it, hey, check out my website. I'm a photographer, right? And look at some of my past work. You know, or is it say, hey, let's connect. That's the one I have, right? There's an action you want the reader to do. So again, what is that action? And that should be sort of like the last part of your about section. Folks, if you are joining here on the live stream, feel free to say hi in chat. I'd love to hear from you all. Again, if you have questions, feel free to pop them in there as well. Okay. Now we're going to jump to the next section, and this is the feature section. They just added this feature not too long ago. It's actually pretty recent still. And the feature section is where you can actually feature to your audience about, you know, some really cool highlights that you either wrote, maybe some articles you read, maybe an online course you took, whatever the case may be. You can actually feature that, and that elevates it to the top, right, in your profile section. So it helps the reader understand, like, you know, what is something about you that you would want them to know, right? Maybe you took an online course. Maybe you did a fundraiser for your local community, right? And you write an article and you post it so that way they know. So this is a really cool way to help your reader understand, right? Your audience understand about what's new, what's up, what's good, okay? Again, you can do articles, you can do links, like let's say, again, maybe you help, you know, a local, you know, dog shelter. Maybe you put together a quick, small little clip of a video, YouTube tutorial you learned, whatever the case may be. So again, I highly recommend this feature. Which leads me to the next section. Again, these are some of the things you might want to avoid. In 2018, they looked at profiles, and these were like the most buzzwords overused, right, in profiles. So I don't recommend using this. I'm guilty of them too, but I don't recommend heavily using these because they're so overused. So like, you know, specialized, experience, leadership, skill. I'm very passionate. Everybody's passionate, right? Expert, I'm motivated, I'm creative, strategic, and successful. So find different ways to write them. If you do write them, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But again, I recommend be creative with it in a different sense, right? Describe it in your own words. Now, the other part is activity in your profile, and you want to be active. Remember, when being on LinkedIn, you are your own content creator. And what I mean by this is you're creating content to your audience about you, about your interests, your skill set, your experience. And so the more active you are on it, right, it tells the reader that, hey, you've been reading an article, or again, you're engaged in this conversation. You like a post, you commented on posts, right? So those activities are featured in the activity section, and it tells the reader that, hey, you're on this platform. You are someone that they should connect with. If you have no activity, it tells them that you're not on this platform. You're not going to be really engaging, right? And they're less likely to connect with you. So I encourage you, make it a small goal. I tell folks, like once a week, right? Start off small. Post something, write something, comment on something, share something, right? Be active on LinkedIn. The more active you are, again, the more people see you, right? And if they see you, guess what? They know your story. And if they know your story, they want to connect with you, right? They want to feature you. They want to talk to you. They want to connect. And that's what you want to do. You want to build it, because essentially what you're doing is you're building your own brand. You're telling the world about who are you. You're marketing your skill set and experience. And so when opportunities do come available that they may know of, and they hear that you're looking for an opportunity that's the same thing, right? Or in the field of it or related, they're more likely to share with you that article, that job posting, right? Whatever the case might be. And so you want to increase your odds better. Networking is very essential to the job search, right? Again, 75 to 80% of how people get their job is through networking. And the more you network, the more you showcase your skill set, your experience, and you connect with people, the more likely it yields better results. So again, you want to be active. I'm making it this year. My goal is to be active on LinkedIn at least once a day. And again, LinkedIn has an app as well. So I tell folks, if you can't write an article, you can't, do those big pieces, it could be as simple as, commentating on someone's article. It could be as sharing a link, an opportunity. So again, I highly recommend that. So, hi, Christopher. Welcome. He says, hi, I'm from Fresno. I'm from the era of monster.com and snag a job. Thanks for all the information. Great. Welcome. And then we have Mel, of course, from NC. Thanks, Mel, for joining us today as well. Okay. So the next piece is experience. Now, this is like the butter, like how I tell folks, like, of the resume. And it's the same thing for your LinkedIn profile, right? This is evidence and proof to tell the people, the world, about you. What have you been doing professionally, right? Whether that's internships, volunteering. There's a whole section on volunteer experience too, and you can put that in that section too. But the experience should really capture, again, remember, your future bosses are not going to care if you're paid or not. That's not what they're going to focus on. They're more focused on, again, your experience, your knowledge, your ability, right? Your accomplishments. And that's what you want to do here in the experience, is tell the reader, what did you actually do in your last job? And I would avoid, again, you don't want to really focus on these accomplishments. You don't want to focus on the responsibility. You want to focus on the accomplishments. What did you actually do, right? And then in the experience section, you can actually upload examples of your work. So for example, if you wrote you guys did research and you had to do a presentation, right? You can upload like the first 2 pages of that article that you guys written. Or maybe you guys took a photo and you guys were at a conference. You can upload it to a link of, again, the organization you worked at, right? Maybe you are doing something really cool with an organization. So there's a lot of content here that, again, the reader would not have learned if they were to just look at your resume. Because on your resume, you are being very selective about all the things you did, which are the ones that are related to that job. Here on the LinkedIn profile, you're going to showcase a whole lot more than just what you did for that job. You're going to probably talk and highlight about accomplishments, maybe things you had to problem solve, skills and abilities. Maybe you had to take an online course to do something else, right? So again, you want to feature that. And when I go to people's profiles and I see that, they'll quickly just oftentimes, and it happens, I see people put their job posting, like your job description of your last jobs. That does not help the reader, your audience, understand what did you actually do. Again, we have no idea what your knowledge, skills, and abilities are. So we can't vouch for you. We can't say that, hey, so-and-so is great because they did this. We wouldn't know that. We would just know, well, so-and-so had the job, but they were expected to do this. We don't know if they actually did that. And so, again, your LinkedIn profile experience section, it's very vital that, again, you put your accomplishments. You actually tell the reader, what did you actually do, and results. The more results you have throughout your LinkedIn profile, the better people feel about you. And when they feel good about you, they're more likely to, again, to vouch on you, to recommend you for opportunities, right, to connect with you. Okay. Now we're going to jump over to, again, and one of the best ways, again, to write them is, again, like how you would do in a resume. You would do the STAR method or the STAR method or the PAR method. And I'll quickly review that really quick. The STAR method is really simple. Start with the situation. You're describing that, the actions, and the results. Again, same with STAR. It's just situation, task, right, that you were tasked with, and the actions you took, and then the results. The PAR method's a little different. It's more probably talking about, like, again, the problem that you observe or experience that you guys were all like challenged with, the actions you took, and then the results. So when you're able to implement this throughout your resume and you're getting your experience profile, right, and your LinkedIn, people can really see that, oh, this is, you guys were stuck on this. You were stuck on it. This is the actions you took, right, demonstrating your skills and abilities. And because of your efforts, these are the results. Of course, you want to make sure that your results really focus on the positive outcomes, right? It doesn't make sense to tell them, hey, we spent $500 to do a fundraising and lost, $2,000. That's not really a positive result. So you want to make sure you really focus on positive results. And of course, throughout this experience section, you want to quantify when possible, whether that be percentages or an estimated number. Again, that helps the reader understand what kind of impact are you making, right? If you're generating sales or a volume of money, whatever the case may be, what were they? So again, you really want to make sure that you get a chance to emphasize that situation, action, and results. It's really important. Again, the more you do this, the more easier it is to go tell the story about who you are and your ability later on in the interview. And that's the method, STAR. So I highly recommend that. For people who want to demonstrate, again, more problem-solving skills, I probably like to utilize the PAR method, and that helps them understand, again, what were you presented, what's the challenge, right? Or sometimes they call it the CAR method with CAR, challenge, action, results, or PAR, problem, action, and results. Either one works. There's no right or wrong. It's just personal preferences. Okay. But remember, KSA for short, I tell folks, whether it be through your resume and also on your LinkedIn profile, right? KSA stands for knowledge, skills, and abilities. That's what you should be weaving throughout your resume and your LinkedIn profile. When people come to your profile, they should be knowing, oh, what are you known for? What are knowledge you bring to the table that your colleagues, experts out there would say, yeah, you know about this, whatever this is, right? Again, knowledge. What's the skill set that you have that you can actually demonstrate to people? I know how to do this, right? And again, you should be weaving that throughout your experience section. And of course, your abilities, right? What are you capable of doing that, again, demonstrates those success? So you want to do that throughout, again, the resume and, of course, the LinkedIn profile. And we'll talk about a little bit more about later on about skills, actually, about how can people demonstrate that you know the skill. Okay, now your education section, right? People, and you can move things up and down however you want the profile to look. Some people like to keep their education at the top. Some people like to keep it on the bottom. So if you are new, as in you're a young professional, maybe you're still studying and going to school, maybe that's the biggest project in your life, right? If you think about it, then you want to maybe highlight that at the beginning, right? But for folks who are a little bit more experienced, it's not really important about your education more. It's, again, more focused about your skills and abilities. So you might want to move that towards the bottom. Either way, there's an education section. And what you want to do here is highlight, again, the degrees you have completed, as well as so that would include like community college, if you see like an associate level, a university level. For folks who are young professionals, you can still include high school, but eventually high school is like a lifetime ago for many of the readers, right? So high school, I tell folks, you probably be one of those things that I would probably weave out over time. Okay. And again, you can include the institution, the degrees, and the time frame that you attended. And you can also in the education include like activities, let's say if you're part of clubs, right? Things like that. So that's another way to quickly highlight that in your education piece. Okay, now the other section is license and certification. So if you got licensed for something like CPR, if you got certified for something, you can include those in this section as well. The one thing you want to note is if there is an expiration date like CPR, you want to let them know like when does it expire if there was. If there was no expiration date, then you can just identify the name of the certification or license, and then of course include the month and year that you were awarded. So that's pretty simple there. The next section is our volunteer experience. And this is actually a really cool section. I tell folks you should be doing this because, again, what's information that the reader should know about that they did not learn from your resume when you apply for an opportunity, right? Or what's something that's out there that you're engaged in that your bosses and colleagues don't know that you do. That will help them understand, again, about your knowledge, skills, and abilities. So if you are engaged in volunteer experience, if you're engaged in your community, or maybe you help your kids, soccer team, whatever the case may be, right? That's all volunteer experience. And I would include it in this section so that way they understand, like, what do you do? Maybe you go help out with the dog shelter. Maybe you go help out with the homeless community, or maybe you, do reading stuff, right? You do a fundraiser, a bake sale, whatever the case may be. I think it's important because it tells the people, again, like when you're not working, what do you care about out there in your community, right? And caring for your community conveys a much stronger character trait about you without having to say that you care for your community. So this is, again, evidence and proof of, again, who are you, right? Holistically a little bit more than just someone with a long list of accomplishments. So again, I highly recommend that. Now the skills and endorsements, right? So there's a skill section, and I tell folks what you need to start doing is identifying your skills, right? Start chugging them in, and you can have a bunch of skills, right? Technical skills, soft skills, there's industry skills, right? And plug them as much as you can. The next thing you want to do is start identifying what is some folks and start endorsing theirs, especially people who are in similar roles or, again, doing similar work with you. And go to their profile, and if you see them demonstrate a skill, endorse that. And when you endorse that, you're telling your community that, hey, I've seen this person do this type of work, and they actually use Excel a lot. I know that they're great at Excel, or they're great at PowerPoint, whatever the case may be. So that way, in return, they can come back to your profile, right? Because when they endorse you, you get kind of sort of like notified. You get to see that, oh yeah, so-and-so, came to my profile. And when they come to your profile, what you want to do is also reciprocate the same feelings of go back to their they're going to come to your profile and also do the same, where they're going to come to look at your skills and say, okay, so-and-so listed all these skills. I've seen them do these. I can endorse these. I can vouch and say, yeah, they're great at this skill set. And so I highly recommend folks actually doing that. Right? Again, no one's going to know and see that you know how to do things unless you actually have a group of community people that says, yeah, you're great at public speaking. You're great at, SPSS or R or coding, whatever the case may be. So you want people, the more people vouch and endorse you, again, the further it validates that, yeah, you're really great at this, and your whole community of networks have agreed, right? They endorse that. So again, increasing your confidence also about your skill set and experiences. So I highly recommend, again, start thinking about your skills. And the cool thing with LinkedIn is that as you plug them in, it categorizes it for you. So that way you can literally see your technical skills. You can see even language skills. You can see, your people skills, your interpersonal skill sets as well. Okay. The next thing, we're chiming down to the bottom of the sections here now, but recommendation. And it's so important that you have this in your profile, because if you have recommendations, right, people who attest about their experience working with you, right, whether they supervise you or they were your colleague, your coworkers, or even your mentees, right, then I highly recommend that. Ask people you worked with to give you a recommendation. And this is where you can highlight and let them know, hey, can you talk about our project when we worked on this, right? Talk about this skill set, talk about this. And they can actually write a quick little, endorsement of their recommendation about how they worked with you. And you can review it and encourage them to make changes, right? If there's something you kind of disagree with, or maybe some of the details were a little lacking. And then you get to approve it, and it goes onto your profile. So it's like a little mini version, almost like a reference, but not truly a reference either. And so I really highly recommend the recommendations, because it helps the reader understand if people worked with you in the past, what was it like? You know, what did you specialize in? What did y'all do together? What would your past people you worked with say about you? And so this is where you can really shine if you have, again, different folks vouching and saying, yeah, this, I would recommend so-and-so because they were great at this. They demonstrate a lot of leadership, right? Critical thinking, problem solving. They step up to the plate. They went above and beyond, right? Whatever the case may be. So you want to be able to pull those people in. These are your career champions, I tell folks. These are the people that are going to say, you know what, I believe you and I admire you and I want to support you. Here's how I'm going to do. I'm going to write about our project we work together, or our fundraising, or you know, the task and responsibility, like when you know, during our shifts, whatever the case may be. They're going to talk again about your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and that's what you want them to do. So remember, it doesn't have to be, you know, only the people you that supervise you, your bosses. No, it could be coworkers you work together with. It could be, you know, a mentee who you've been mentoring, right? So it can be any of those. Of course, I don't recommend family to family. So, and that's just because, of course, your mom and dad would say you're the best, right? So again, you don't really want to focus on that. You really want to focus on, again, the professional you. You want them to talk about the professional you. Okay. And then there's the accomplishment section where you can include, again, like, for example, courses you have taken. You can put the name of the course, right? So if you're taking like university or community college courses and it's like, you know, abbreviated with like, you know, PSC 132. Well, the whole world doesn't know what PSC 132 is. They have no idea. It can mean totally different things. So put the names of the actual courses. You can include organizations that you've been part of, right, in your community. You can include languages, right? So again, there's a whole lot of sections that you can include in accomplishments to like publications, let's say, or a patent, courses, like I mentioned, a project you worked on, especially a very short-based project. Maybe you were honored and you got awards, or, you know, I wouldn't really focus on test scores. Again, it's really more for high school, but you can include that if you wanted to. Languages, like I mentioned, in organizations. So in this section, there's a lot of wiggle room for you to add things that are relevant for your profile that will help them understand, again, what are some major milestones or things you completed that were really cool accomplishments that would help the reader, again, learn more about your knowledge, skills, and abilities. So interest, right? And now this is like pretty much toward the end of their profile. And often people don't really are active in this piece. And I say you should be interest. You should actually, interest shows all of the organizations that you follow on LinkedIn. And I tell folks, you know, think about those 10 companies or organizations out there that you would love to work for one day. Follow them. Let the reader know that, hey, these are the organizations that I really admire and that I'm following. I like to stay up to date regarding their news, maybe their job opportunities or their growth in their company, right? And so you want to make sure you really showcase that, because you don't know if the hiring manager is one of the companies from that list that you follow. Oh, I bet you they're going to get a little excited about you. They're going to get excited because they see that you follow them. So I highly recommend following organization companies that you admire, that you would love to work for one day. And especially if you know that you apply for a position with those companies, I would follow them. And that's a great insight, again, to learning more about the company, the organization, the structure, the company culture, and also news information that you would not otherwise obtain if you were just looking at the job description from the company. So that pretty much wraps it up there about the LinkedIn profile in terms of how to build it. Any questions, thoughts, or comments? And if y'all do, feel free to pop them in chat. I'm happy. Mel's saying some great tips today. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mel. I really appreciate that. If y'all want, also, I tell folks, you know, once you have a strong LinkedIn profile, right? Once you build it, and it's pretty good, or you update it and you feel pretty good about it, right? There's content in there. There's information about you that, again, the reader, the audience would not have otherwise obtained if they were just looking at your resume. If you feel good about it, then I said the next step is start using it more effectively. And what I mean by this is now start actually using LinkedIn to find opportunities, to find jobs, internships, right? And I'll quickly show how that looks like in a bit, as well as joining groups, using it to connect with people. And that's going to help elevate your profile more. Because again, one of your goals when you're putting together your profile, if you were to Google yourself, right? And I tell folks, you should always do that, right? Google yourself, your full name, and see what comes up. Is your LinkedIn profile featured in the first page? Right? If it is, good, because that means you have relevant content. When people look you up, they're more likely to find your profile. And that's what you want them to do. You want them to find the professional you, which is your LinkedIn profile, not family, not Facebook, right? Not Snapchat, not your TikTok, or again, those social ones that again are a little bit more focused on, again, the personal you. And if you do find them, and it's not the professional you, then I tell folks it is now time to start doing a security check. And what that means is going back into those profiles on all of those, including Facebook, right? Start setting your privacy settings, because your future bosses and colleagues don't want to see, right? And I tell folks, you holding red cups, and doing things inappropriately, right? And also personally, right? If you have, I tell folks, just for safety reasons, right? So again, you probably want to do a privacy check just to make sure your settings are, again, set to closed off. That again, it's only to the people you're connected with. When I tell folks, you Google yourself, right? Your goal is to make sure your profile is in the first page, and ideally in the top of that first page. If you find that yourself, you are good. Your profile is working, because they want to find you. You want to make it so easy that the people out there, whether it be your colleagues, future coworkers, they can quickly Google you and see the professional you. Okay, really quick, I'm going to change over here. I'm going to switch this piece. Christopher goes, thanks for all the information. I got a boatload of information to update to build my minds. It's okay. It happens, and it takes time. And that's why I tell folks, do it in chunks, right? Every day, that's why I tell folks, make it a goal. Like, what is one thing you want to update? What is one thing you want to update or include in your LinkedIn profile? So that way people know you, people understand you. Otherwise, I tell people, no one knows you. No one knows what you stand for, what's your ability, your skill set, or knowledge, and they're least likely to recommend you. They're least likely to feel good about hiring you, right? So again, you want to increase those odds. Okay, and then I'm going to jump over to my profile really quick. So that way, really quick, I can share with y'all about how to utilize LinkedIn a little bit more effectively. Hopefully, there it goes. Okay, so this is my profile. I'm gonna shrink myself just a little bit so y'all can see a little bit better. Let's see. There it goes. That's a little closer. So this is LinkedIn. Again, when you go to LinkedIn, you'll go into the main news sort of feed like this, right? And so we're in my profile right now, but one of the cool things I recommend, once you have your LinkedIn profile, and I forgot to mention one of the most important piece too. Also, I'm gonna go to mine really quick. But like your banner right here, this big picture that's right next to your profile picture, you should have a banner. Otherwise, you set to the default one and it's boring. No one wants boring, right? I tell folks, this is where you can be a little creative and like some people would upload like the city, a picture of the city they live in, or maybe they'll upload, words or terms that they stand for. So as you can see, I describe myself a little bit more. I utilize different words to describe, again, who I am, right? And again, action verbs and action to describe a little bit more about what I'm all about. So that's another piece of it. So again, update this piece. This is a visual invitation. Now I'm gonna go back to the feed here again, and I tell folks there's jobs tabs. People should definitely use job tabs. So if I came here, right, and you can see here, there's a lot of opportunities that gets you feed. You can go here right now. If you're looking for work, you can type in remote. And it'll give you, look, there's 223,000 results that have remote in the job title. You can actually use this to find opportunities. And so I would look at experience, whether you're looking for internship, entry level, associate, mid-level, director, executive, right? Or maybe there's some companies that are hiring a lot and you're trying to figure out who's hiring right now, right? And of course, you can also do, remote positions. You can do a job type, like, hey, I'm only looking for, a volunteer opportunity. I'm looking for part-time or temporary, contract, full-time positions, right? I can use those, and now I can find some really cool opportunities from LinkedIn right now and apply for some of these really cool positions, right? And then go straight to the companies as well. So that's another great tool, is to utilize LinkedIn more effectively for your needs. The other part, again, right here, you can also search the keywords in here. And when you do search, you can set it right here. If I'm looking for, let's just say I'm part of, I'm looking for graphic design. Let's just say I'm looking for graphic design work, but I'm also trying to, join a few groups, find people to connect with, right? Who do I know out there that's going to be a really good person to connect with? So right here in the group section under graphic design, I see there's 3,000 groups on LinkedIn that are all about graphic design. Oh, look, there's a graphic design professionals, right? There's 43,000 people on LinkedIn that are on this group, right? Or there's graphic design help, or hey, if I'm a student, there's a graphic design student association, right? So there's a whole bunch of different types of groups. And I would tell folks, if you are in this field, right, you should join. I would recommend, so for example, for graphic design, this one's a simple one. You will have to request to join, right? And it's really simple. And what they'll do, the admins, will have to approve it, but it tells you right here what this group is all about. It tells you, hey, our group, we would like, group is all about enable all members to grow. To remain of the group, you must contribute tangible value to the group, right? So once you read that, again, you request it and they'll review this group and the admins will approve it, right? So in the left, you can see all the ones I'm part of. I'm part of quite a few of them, or some out there. But joining group, once you are in a group, so let's just say, for example, here's one, game writing. I don't know how I came across this group, but I'm now part of that group. But let's just say I'm interested in becoming a game writer or writing for a game, right? And I'm like, hey, who out there that does that? I can join this group and I'm part of this group. And when I am, right, I can set my notification. Hey, alert me, let me know when people are posting on this. But I get to see there's 3,000 people in this group. And I can see the latest information, who's posting, who's active, right? What are they, posting about, things like that. And if I'm trying to find other professionals to connect with, right, I can look right here, see all these people. Now I see all of their profiles, right? And I can actually reach out to them. I can message them because we're both part of a group already. Otherwise, if I am a complete stranger and they're complete strangers and we have no networks that know each other, it's really hard for us to connect. So I can really, for example, let's just say, for example, Michaela, right? I see Michaela's a narrative design and game writing, right, Indiana. Notice now I see the connect button very easily, right? I can look through her profile and see that, she's really cool. She's doing some great work there. I'm interested in her experience, right? She does video editing, graphic design. I might click that button to connect, always add a note. And I would say, hey, Michaela, came across your profile in the game writing group. And after reviewing, I thought you're doing some really cool works. Would you be open to connecting? Keep it simple. Again, you only have 300 characters, right? And that will be another way for me to connect with professionals outside of my current networks. So I highly recommend that. Mel saying, oh, this is cool. Yeah. So again, I really recommend utilizing it a lot more. There's a whole wealth of knowledge out there on LinkedIn right now where people are engaged and they're in these networks, they're in these groups, right? Again, for example, if I was interested in becoming like a web designer, right? And that's something I'm aspiring towards. I tell folks right here, you can see people, you can find who's out there that's a web designer, who has web design in their profile, right? Those keyword search terms. And I see there's 9.500, there's 9 million, right, people who have that. I probably want to narrow it down. Let's just say, for example, I'm like, hey, find me people in the Bay Area that has this. Great, now I narrow it down. Find me people who are within certain connections of me. Or I might say, hey, find me people who work at Apple. And now I narrow it down to people who work at Apple that have, again, web design in their profile. So I can reach out to them. Some people I can connect with very easily because, again, we probably have some people that know each other, right? Because we're in third. It always shows you people who, again, are connected to each other in your networks already. So, again, I can connect with them. But the people notice that there's a lock button right here. That means, like, for example, TJ Miller here and I are probably very far apart. Right? That means our networks do not know each other. Our people don't know each other. And so it's hard for me to connect with TJ. What I have to do is go to his profile, right? Look through his profile, get an understanding. Oh, let me go back. Get an understanding of what he's all about, right? So I can see that, he hasn't really been posting. He's not very active, right? And then I can determine whether or not I want to reach out to him, right? So if I do want to reach out, I would have to go to this ... right here on his profile right here. And notice now I can see the word connect. And that's when I can go in ahead and add that special note and say, hey, TJ, came across your profile during my search, and I really admire your work over at Apple. I think it's fantastic. Would you be open to connecting, right? And just keep it simple. But I can still connect with them, but it takes a few steps to get there versus the people I'm already connected to. So that's another way to start connecting with people. And when you start connecting with people, they get to see you more. They get to learn your profile more. They get to know about, again, your knowledge, skills, and abilities. So that's what I recommend, is make sure that, again, and right here, LinkedIn has really cool news. Like right now, if people are wondering, like, what's happening, what's good, what are people talking about, right? You can actually have that here. So my favorite is, again, the jobs tab right here, right? You can quickly go into your jobs. There's also, like, again, like you can create job alerts, right? You can tell, hey, find me information, send it to me. Find me salary information, send it to me as well. Right? You can do some salary information research. You can also do some interview prep, right? It tells you kind of like, again, how to approach certain interview approaches. Now, this piece, there is premium, so that you do have to pay for it, right? But I don't recommend that. So what I tell folks is just understand that these are common questions. You can come over here and get an idea what the common questions are. And on Thursday, I'll be talking about, again, what to do before, during, and after your interview, essentially how to rock your upcoming interviews, right? You shouldn't be I tell folks, you should be prepping way in advance before you even get an offer to interview versus waiting until an offer and then prepping, right? Prep early now, so that way you're more prepared for an interview. So again, this will be, again, a smaller approach to, again, how you might do your LinkedIn, how to update and how to use it more effectively. So that pretty much sums it up for today's session. Any questions, thoughts, or concerns? And again, if you have it, feel free to pop them in chat. I'm happy to chat more. But hopefully this helps you all about, again, how to build your profile, how to update it, right? And of course, how to use it more effectively. And the more you use it, the more, again, you're increasing your odds better that when people search up your name, they're going to find your LinkedIn profile. They're going to find the professional you. Otherwise, I tell folks, if they look you up and they go somewhere else, then they don't know you and they're going to assume you're this other person when you're not. So again, I highly recommend that. And Mary says, thank you. Even no problem, Mary. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate that. So there's so much good stuff with LinkedIn. Again, I highly recommend it, whether you are a young professional going in, right? Or maybe you've been in the industry for some time. And again, I ask people, what do your coworkers know about you? What does your boss know about you, right? What does your mentees, the people you're mentoring, what do they know about you? And if they're nothing, if you're like, they don't know anything about me, then it's time to revisit and have to think about whether or not, how active, how engaged are you on LinkedIn, right? And if you want them to know about you, what would they be? And that's where you can feature that. Christopher saying, thank you, no problem. I hope that was helpful. Again, catch me on Thursday. I'll be doing about, again, our upcoming, again, how to rock your interview. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I am having 𝗕𝗏𝗡𝗅, our deputy director here in the local area, come and talk about Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders Education Endowment Fund. So she's going to talk about her career path on our, again, Meet the Pros. So I hope you'll all be able to join and come and learn more about different careers out there. So I hope that was helpful. Well, thank you guys all so much. I really appreciate that. And y'all have a good one. And if you're on LinkedIn, you're working on LinkedIn, you're more than welcome to connect with me. Like I said, search me up, see what you find, right? And I have a very popular name, so I'm probably like one of the 4 people out there. Some other folks out there have really cool careers. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we share the same name. And like someone's a scientist and someone's a ballerina or a musician. Pretty cool. I'm not either of those, but I hope that it helps you kind of think a little bit more strategically about how to utilize LinkedIn again for networking. It's very vital that you really show the professional you. So, thanks everyone so much. And again, if you found this helpful, go ahead, give it a like, thumbs up, or come hang out with me on Instagram and Twitter, as well as YouTube. And I really appreciate that. So y'all have a good one today. Catch you guys next time. Thanks everyone.